breaking news coming out of the NBA, and Karl-Anthony Towns is heading to the Big Apple to play for the New York Knicks in a trade that was announced on Friday night. And what the Minnesota Timberwolves get back in return is Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo and the first round pick that was originally the Detroit Pistons. Looking at what this means, this is big time move for the New York Knicks, who made a ton of moves this offseason thanks to Jalen Brunson taking a pay cut with his extension, and that allowed them to bring in Mikal Bridges. And it was temporarily the Nova Knicks. You had Donte DiVincenzo, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and you had Jalen Brunson. Now, obviously, Donte DiVincenzo is out, but you still have a very talented group of Nova guys, and all led by Jalen Brunson. I mean, he was an all-star last year and very nearly dragged the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals if it wasn't thanks to the Indiana Pacers and some injury luck finally catching up to them. But looking at what Cat does for the New York Knicks, I mean, this is a guy that's one of the best shooting big men in the modern NBA. He's able to pick and pop. It would be a great compliment to Jalen Brunson, and he would be able to take another body away from the rim and help Jalen and other guys get to the rim at ease. OG is known to be a slasher to the rim. You have Josh Hart as well. And I think this is a really good move because we knew that once Isaiah Hartenstein left for OKC, this left a huge hole in the middle of the Knicks front line. And yes, you have Mitchell Robinson, but how reliable is he as a player because of his frequent injury history? Wish him nothing but the best, but good move by the Knicks front office. I thought this was a nice move to set them up because everyone we know is chasing Boston. And Boston, I think the absolute factor that sent them over the top was Kristaps Porzingis. We knew about Jaylen Brown, we knew about Jason Tatum, the J&Js, obviously the main heads of the snake, and obviously they have so many capable shooters, Drew Holiday, Derek White, but having a big guy like Kristaps Porzingis and also be a shot blocker as well, I think that's something where you can eliminate that shot blocking prowess and have Cat out of the perimeter kind of waiting in the three-point corner or a pick and pop situation like I said, and that would help create some driving lanes and have the rim a little bit more open than when Kristaps Porzingis is patrolling the paint. Now, obviously, Boston will still be the projected favorite, and I think that out of a team like Boston in the field, it's still something where you would probably pick Boston to repeat as back-to-back championships just because they're so loaded. These Knicks are looking really good. They had to build some chemistry. We know NBA teams are just not built in an off-season. It's built over an entire regular season. Let's hope the injury gods are nicer to them this season. Going to the Timberwolves sides of this, mainly driven by financial purposes. The Timberwolves had an opportunity to extend Karl-Anthony Towns, but they decided not to. And you get Julius Randle, who absolutely could be getting an extension later on. He'll probably play out the final year of his contract, and the Knicks were thinking of extending him too, but I think the bargaining price, or at least the two sides, couldn't come to a mutual agreement, so hence the trade. I think the nuance in this is not only do you get Julius Randle in this, where he's probably another guy that's similar to Karl-Anthony Towns, but maybe wouldn't really occupy the similar areas that Rudy Gobert would occupy. But Donte DiVincenzo, I think, is a guy that can add some bench depth for this team, because outside of Anthony Edwards, there isn't really a guy that can create his own shot. We saw that against the Dallas Mavericks. It was really Anthony Edwards and a guy that needed to have somebody else help them set up a shot. They just have a really good group of guys that can be 3-and-D wing defenders and can get after you. We saw that in the Western Conference semifinals against the Denver Nuggets. They harassed Jamal Murray all game long. But this adds an offensive punch for this Timberwolves team. So this is a rare case where, yes, you give up a star in this league, but you still get some very good return on the investment. I also have to credit the Minnesota Timberwolves for doing this maybe a year early and maybe not a year late. We could know that they might be able to get a little bit more for Karl-Anthony Towns. But I think they struck while the iron was still hot. He didn't have the best of seasons in the last couple of years. Cat has missed some time, let's be honest here. So he still has some really good value, and you get this Detroit pick that could be something of value later on, whether it's something you use as a trade tool later or you invest in that pick and get some younger additional talent. But either way, I think both sides get an A for this deal, and now let's see how this deal actually gets executed when the season starts in October.